Good morning, my listeners. This is Wiktor Doctor, and you are listening to Good Morning BSS World podcast. I hope you are all well, and for those of you who are interested to listen about what has happened in BSS industry in Poland in May 2020, I have this episode of my show. May was already a third month of home office reality of work for most of businesses. And BSS companies, including BPO, SSC, were working in such reality as well. As today, we have the last day of the month. Hereby, I'd like to share with you few news, interesting stories which took place in BSS world and around it. For those of you who are Polish or speak Polish, I encourage you to visit my other podcast, which is named BSS with No Secrets. In May, I have recorded 26 episodes of that podcast, where some of them I prepared in video version as well. Okay, let's move forward. In May, new report focus on Bydgoszcz was released by ProProgresio Foundation. Bydgoszcz is one of the cities in Poland which is well-recognized location for BPO, SSC, but also IT operation centers. There are already circa 60 operation centers present in the city of Bydgoszcz, and among them there are, for example, Atos Global Delivery Center, Cognified, Cybercom, iCore or Mobica, for example. I will share with you a link to the webpage where you can download this report free of charge. Talking about this webpage, this is new site of ProProgresio, which was also started on May 2020. After 5 years of previous webpage, ProProgresio has changed its image. Now you can find all necessary information in clear, modern and transparent format. ProProgresio is an organization supporting growth and development of BSS industry located in Poland. The company releases Outsourcing and More magazine, is administrator of outsourcing portal, prepares reports, organizes events, and is one-stop shop for international organizations who want to set up operations in Poland. New webpage of ProProgresio includes all information about this organization. I will also include link below in the description to this episode, and you will see exactly what I mean about that. Let's take a look on the industry. I had a pleasure to talk few days ago to Krzysztof Misiak, who is the head of Cushman & Wakefield in Poland, and also to Michał Młynarczyk, who is the managing director of Divire. And together we have discussed of what has happened in BSS industry in Poland in May of 2020. Here are some of our conclusions. There were no new investments and no new openings of BSS operation centers. And I guess you are not surprised about that, because business actually has frozen the investments and setup activities all around the world. The planes were not flying, the trains and the cars were not driving across the borders, and most of the work was moved to the online meetings, online talks, and so on and so on. So, such talks do take place. And I actually spoke also to some authorities from the Polish cities, where some of the international investors who are interested in potential location of their BPO or SSC activities in Poland. So those investors do have the contacts with the city authorities and collect data necessary to make or not make the decisions about new openings. But we will need to wait for that some time, and in May there were no new openings in Poland. But there are also other news that there were no closing downs. So even though the situation is quite tough, even though some of the operation centers who are located in Poland and work, for example, for the US or Western European companies who are manufacturers of various products, they didn't stop their activities. They are keep on operating. Okay, there is some slowdown in that, but none of them has decided to close the operations so far, which is very good news. Companies have stopped or limited traditional recruitments but are more interested in RPO, which is Recruitment Process Outsourcing Services. It looks like RPO will be more popular in coming months, and I do keep my fingers crossed for that, because for the recent years, actually this type of recruitment services was not as popular as expected by many companies. So now it looks like that companies are more focusing on moving recruitment processes fully outside. So I guess this is the new reality for the HR companies, who will now work together with the recruitment agencies completely on a new business model. Another conclusion we had was that BSS companies do consider hybrid model of work, where office, home office, and other forms of remote work are working together. I guess I already spoke about that in my last episode, but I need to, confirm this, that this is the model which is becoming a new reality. It means that most of the offices have to be more secure for their employees when it comes to the health and safety regulations, for example, but also because the last 2 or now nearly 3 months of home office have worked. Yes, everything did work well. So it means that now the combination of working in the office, working at home, or for example from the partnering co-working space is something what we can expect, is something what is working, and is something what both companies and employees are looking for. Okay, let's move to the last point which I had in this section, and it is of course the last but not least, but most of the BSS companies located in Poland will come back to their offices in June 2020. And this, having in mind this what I mentioned in my previous sentence, means that the work will be divided between the office, home, and co-working areas. Let's move to education, or rather know-how sharing. May was a month where where actually there were a lot of activities and various forms of webinars, online conferences, and other virtual events. Most of them were free of charge, but there were some already paid. It looks like those paid are not as popular as expected, and most probably the reason of it is that majority of content is available in free form. Live streaming on social media platforms and afterwards leaving recorded materials for those people who couldn't attend live sessions is normal and very popular approach. I personally attended few online sessions and I'm satisfied with the level of them. So having that in mind and looking how many new recordings, know-how sharings are being presented on, for example, YouTube, or are presented on LinkedIn or Facebook even, that gives us that brings us to the situation that, come on, now it is quite a big challenge to organize a paid webinar. Why? Because all content you can find, or maybe nearly all content you can find free of charge. So for the paid events, it is organizers, it is a big challenge to prepare such an agenda, to invite such interesting guests, and to prepare so many, let's say, not typical activities for the attendees of such events, that it is a challenge. It is a challenge. But anyway, I keep my fingers crossed for that, and I hope that those paid events will also have the good audience. Probably. I hope, actually. Okay, let's move forward. New month, new reality. Starting from June 2020, in some countries, the borders will be open. Airlines will start their work, and people will move between countries. And those are good news. Also for BSS industry. Poland and Eastern Europe has proved that are safe destination for BSS operation centers, and it looks like we can expect new investments within next months, although I assume new openings will rather hit the year of 2021. So the next months of 2020 will be rather the period where we will get and share a lot of content, a lot of information, a lot of data to convince new investors to set up their operation centers, either in Poland or other European countries. For business initiatives, I have here few topics for you at the end of my show for today. ProProgressio has started Connector project, where companies are sharing their demands for new human resources or want to delegate their staff to other projects. Connector works in Polish and English and is free of charge to be used. Of course, the idea for Connector was to set it up for the Poland-based companies, but because the platform is prepared in English, and there are no border limitations included in that, so it means that this platform can be used by many businesses, not only from Poland, but also from the other countries. And of course, the link will be attached to this episode. Automation Anywhere plans to run 3-day online conference called Imagine Digital. This one will be focused on RPA and AI, so robotics process automation and artificial intelligence. To be honest, I think this is the first event I ever heard which is planned for 3 days. So far, the conferences or online events or the webinars were rather taking place in 1 day, maximum 2 days. But 3 days, I keep my fingers crossed. But actually, I have looked to the agenda of this event, and there are a lot of interesting topics and a lot of interesting speakers who have confirmed their presence on that event. And for the end, I invite you to read text of Savills titled European Real Estate Investment Crash to be short-lived in 2020. It looks like there is an optimistic future in front of us when it comes to the real estate industry. Good text of Savills, and I will of course share the link here. So this is it for today. All links you will find in the description of this podcast. And what can I say at the end? Remember to subscribe my show wherever you are listening to it or watch it, because some of the episodes are also prepared in the video version. So you can find me on YouTube, Spreaker, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and many other platforms. Talk to you soon. My name is Wiktor Doctor, and this was Good Morning BSS World Podcast. Bye-bye.